everyone, I'm Carl Bierock. Welcome to the Jaguar Football Podcast. And with us today is the head coach of Seckman Football, Dr. Nicholas Baer. Coach Baer, so good to see you. And, the snow is finally melting here in the valley. Before you know it, it's time to hit the field.
Yeah, we finally got some decent weather and football season's right around the corner. So, these kind of days where, it's all weight room, all, kind of prep for the off season, and football season will be here shortly.
Oh, yes. And a special welcome to our new viewers watching on Livestream STL. Expanding the reach of this podcast, we're very happy to be a part of the family. And as we go through the podcast today, Coach, a lot of folks may not be too familiar either with you or the program or the type of offense that you run. So we figure, why not do a top 5 to kick off our debut on Livestream STL? And, I can't think of a better person to highlight some of those top 5 plays. But before we get there, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to Seckman.
Yeah, welcome any new viewers here, new to the podcast, new to things, Seckman football. I've kind of been a Seckman lifer. I graduated from Seckman High School in 2007. Came back here, started working in 2011 as a math teacher and assistant football coach. After 8 years of that, they put me in charge. And the last 6 years, I've been an athletic weight room teacher and the head coach here. And, if you've been following along, things are good right now. So we're trying to ride that wave and continue to enjoy it. So happy to have you guys here.
All right. We're excited as well. And on the screen, you see there, number 15, Cole Ruble, class of 2023 at Seckman High School. And what are you going to show us today, Coach?
Yeah, with our top 5 today, like I said, it's the off season. We're not really in season. I always like to take a look back at things and honestly, if we're gonna have a top 5, why not have a top 5? Of one of the best guys to ever do it for Seckman football. Cole ended up with about 7,000 yards on the ground and about 100 touchdowns in 3 years. And today we're gonna count down his top 5 games.
All right, sounds good. So here we go. We're ready for number 5, Coach.
Yeah, well, this first game here is our game against Melville his senior year, and this was a game where, we had played Melville previously a few years, so we kind of knew what to expect. But we had a few extra people in attendance at this one. I think the SEMO football coaches, where he goes to college now, the SEMO coaches were in attendance, so we had some college scouts in the stands. And not saying Cole didn't always bring it, but you could tell this night he had a little bit extra. And, it was just a fun night to watch him really dominate the field. You're going to see a couple of his patented long runs here, breaking loose. Those are things we just got used to watching him do. This right here, and this was kind of where we knew, okay, tonight's going to be a little extra special. He's right here. He's actually blocking on this play, and you're going to see him absolutely obliterate this poor guy right here, and that obviously leads to a huge gain. We didn't just ask him to run. He had to block and completely pancake people. Here he is back here on the ground. Just a fantastic effort, fantastic play. And we knew some scouts were in attendance. We knew SEMO was there, so we wanted to give him some opportunities, show him off a little bit. So we actually put him out here a little bit as a receiver, hit him with a little swing pass. And then obviously he was able to show what he can do in space. Just barely got a little shoestring tackle. It was just a fun night overall because, kids can get a little nervous when they know college coaches are in the stands or, when the stakes get a little bit higher. And just like he always did, Cole rose to the occasion. When it comes to yardage for this game, I think he only ended up with 158 yards, which, was one of his lower games. For some, that's a career game. For this was one of his lower games. But he also only had about 12 carries. 12 carries, and he scored 5 touchdowns. And this was one where, he was a quarterback. This is like Lamar Jackson type stuff as far as being able to scoot and get out of there and create, honestly, something out of nothing. So, for me, this was always just a really fun, memorable night for Cole, knowing what the stakes were, knowing that, his future, was watching and now he's on scholarship down at SEMO. And, really fun story. I was listening to a podcast actually of the SEMO football coaches, and they were talking about this game when they came down to watch Cole. And, obviously college coaches are always looking for the talent. I mean, obviously we need Cole had the talent. But they also want to coach good kids. And one of the things that Coach Took at SEMO talked about was, when we were at the game, I think it was Cole's birthday or something, and the entire stand started singing Cole happy birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think, his exact words were Coach Duke said, well, if the guy can get the entire stands, he pretty much, runs the school, can have the entire stands, sing him happy birthday. The kid's definitely not a prick. So I think we could say that. That's just a quote, by the way. But, he knew he was the kind of kid that he wanted to have around his program. And like I said, maybe not one of Cole's biggest statistical games, maybe not like meaningful as far as a postseason type, but just a fun night and one that I'll remember for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just in preparing for this podcast and just looking up some of the stats, it's just incredible how successful he was. And, for those that may be not familiar with the program, we saw a couple of different unique formations. Before we get to the next play, I was just wondering if you could talk to us about the type of offense that you run at Seckman.
Yeah, my first year, we were a triple option team, and the couple years before that we were as well. And, going into Cole's sophomore year, we knew we had a solid athlete that needed the football in his hands and less thinking to do and more go. So, we adopted a single wing offense. We're one of the few teams in the air. It's very run heavy, especially in 2020, 2021. We were very run heavy. And now as we kind of move through 2022, 2023, in this last season, we've really started meshing the pass game, doing a lot of different things. But, as you see the film, you're going to see some condensed formations. We're trying to overload one side, force you to defend the strong side or the weak side. And then we're pretty much going to run where you're not. And, you might stop it once, but you got to stop the second, third, fourth, fifth time. And that's really where we've done a good job of wearing teams down. And, we're 2 years without Cole and it's still humming. It's still moving. So, we're doing a few things right.
Yeah, no doubt. And as we get further and deeper into the off season, then once the season starts, we'll have more of these plays to break down and really show the type of offense and defense that you run here at Seckman. But we're on play number 4, Coach. And so what do you have on this one?
Yeah, top game number 4. This was Cole's senior year. We were playing Pattonville, 50-48 overtime thriller. It's the only overtime win in Seckman football history. We ended up, like I said, this was a shootout, 50-48, back and forth. It's just one of those games where, we didn't really break a lot of huge runs. It was a grinder. So we knew, hey, we were going to have to go to the air. We started coming up with some short, quick routes. Getting the ball out, so not only letting Cole show off his legs, but also showing off the arm. And you see here just a nice little goal line run here. It was tough sledding this night. Not like I said, not a lot of the big 40, 50-yard runs. You're talking more the 5, 6, 7, grinding it out. And when that happens, we know we got to get the ball in the air. And he does a good job here getting the ball out to Anthony Westervelt, wide receiver. Actually broke his foot on this play, and this was the last play he ever played for Seckman, but he's down at SEMO now with Cole, and he's doing a great job too. A couple other touchdowns here. These are 2-3 yard. There's nothing pretty about, these plays and these things, and Cole was always willing to stick his head in the hole and get it done. This is a very famous play. Carl's one of your favorites, the B-dub-dub. A lot of we had an opportunity to break this down on a very early podcast. Maybe go back and check out some of the archives. But just a trap play, we were kind of saying, we kind of get a bad rap. It looks like run left, run right. And truly it's not. And there's a lot of different things and a lot of different techniques and guys that were blocking and different ways to do it that we're asking our guys to do. And this was one of them. Our trap play, required all 11 to do their job. We're battling here towards the end. I told you, Anthony Westervelt had just kind of went out, our best receiver, probably the best receiver I've had the opportunity to coach. He's down at SEMO now too. We're having to grind these out. This was actually the longest run, I believe, of the game for Cole here. Just our normal power play. But we also know we weren't going to be able to get all the way down the field with it. So it's time to put the ball up in the air. When guys get hurt around here, we have to ask other guys to step up. This is Cade Heinemeyer out here on the edge. He's just going to run a go route, and Cole's going to drop it right into him. Beautiful pass, beautiful play. We're going blow for blow, back and forth with these guys the whole game. This is the one that kind of puts us up at the end. Unfortunately, you can see the celebration. Unfortunately, defense didn't hold serve. Actually, I think that was our touchdown in overtime. When you get to overtime, there really wasn't a secret as what was about to happen. At this point, it was 48-48. It's kind of one of those things where, do you go, it was 48-42. The Pattonville hadn't had the ball yet. And it's kind of one of those things where, well, do you kick one or do you go for two and really put stress on them? Well, when you have Cole Ruble on your team, you go for two. So work to the right. We're going to come back to the left. You're going to see him walk right in the end zone. So just a huge night for Cole, huge night for our team, big win. Pattonville, very blue collar program, 2019, making it to the state finals. We've been lucky enough to get it on the upper end on them the last 3 or 4 years, but always very solid. And that one for me, very memorable night. 44 carries, 269 yards, 5 touchdowns, talking 105 passing with 2 extra touchdowns. So just we're talking Madden-like numbers against a really good football team.
Yeah, I just from doing these podcasts with you over the last couple of years, you reference this game quite a bit. It almost like the watershed moment for the program to beat a really, really good team and to overcome adversity with losing your wide receiver and just, grinding it out for just a,
Yeah, that was one of those wild ones. I can't do too many of those, though. That one wore me out. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, that was such a great game. And then I believe the next game was against Marquette, correct? We went on to Marquette.
That year, no, that wasn't a playoff game. That was SLU. We'll get to SLU.
Okay, that was right. That's right. So maybe we'll get to that.
Yeah, that was a regular season, actually non-conference game. And, one where, people were like, well, time for Seckman to really prove it against, a proven opponent. So, the stakes were high for our kids and they matched it. So I was very proud of them.
Yeah, such a great game and just back and forth and just a lot of points scored. So very exciting night out in Pattonville. And so that brings us, Coach, to number 3.
Yeah, it kind of looks like I'm dusting off some old file footage here. Our film is not great here. This was one of my first couple years. We were filming on an iPad. It's actually the COVID season, so this is we're down here in Park Hill Central. It's one of those games that honestly would have never happened. COVID was crazy. We were losing opponents. You're on the phone with coaches trying to find a game that week. And, at the beginning of the year, both us and Park Hill Central, Coach Corey Schweiss, a lot of respect for him. He just got elected to the Missouri Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame this year down there at Park Hills. They just won a state championship, I believe, in 2022. So, at the beginning of the year, we're like, well, they're smaller than us. We'll play you. And I think they kind of thought, we'll play Seckman. But then by the time we both got to this game, we both had pretty good records. We both know we're pretty good teams. We're like, shoot, now we got to play each other. And it was just back and forth. I said, 50-48 overtime thriller against Pattonville. Our only other this is our only 1-point victory in program history. We actually won this game 35-34. If you were really to point to what's that first big win, that real first one that really turned the tide of the whole thing, I'll always point to this game. And this is 2020, Cole's sophomore year. You're going to see a lot of single wing formation here. We were not very creative. We were very very straightforward in our 2020 season, and well, you'll see why, because it worked. And he rushed for 406 yards in this game, which was a program record. And he never ran for 400 again. And this was honestly, if you're counting yards, the most yards he ever ran for in a game against a very solid opponent. So I'll just let a few of these run. Some of them look like they're just on repeat, throw bodies into the hole and let your athlete go. It's another one where, he runs up into the hole. It looks like it's stuffed. And then all of a sudden you're going to see him bounce right out the other back door. that's just the type of speed that, it's hard to replicate, you know, really made him special in who he was. This is our sweep to the right. And then all of a sudden he pops out of the corner again. And like I said, it was almost on repeat that night. A lot of these plays are actually back-to-back plays. Going long again, another 38-yard carry. 50-yarder here. And this was, once again, another game where we were just going back and forth, blow for blow. Defense would give up a touchdown. We'd come right back. We'd answer. And it was just a really special night. And, Cole running for 406 yards. This was kind of that first one that really put him on the map. If you're asking for that first real breakout game, this was it for sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Coach, as a as a coach, you watch this performance, 400 and something yards as a sophomore. How did that, like you said, to put it on a map? Like, did you know what you had in Cole, like from an even maybe freshman year, or it was like this game? He's this is some this guy's special.
Yeah, I mean, we have our junior Jaguar program, now that helps feed up to the high school. So, going into my first year as head coach, that was Cole's freshman year. So, we definitely had an idea of what we had. We knew we had a special athlete. We end up with a lot of special athletes, but it's, how hard you're going to work, how you're going to progress. And for Cole, obviously, the rest is history. So we knew that we had a guy we could build an offense around, and we did, and it worked out for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the results and just the way the program has evolved. A lot of thanks to him, individually, and then the coaches to recognize his talent and give him and put him in the position to succeed. So I mean, it just it's a win-win all around.
It was definitely our reason for going from a triple option team where the quarterback has to read dive, read pitch, to more of a downhill running football team. We knew we wanted to, not that he couldn't handle the thinking, but we knew we wanted to take out the thinking and just get him downhill, get him moving, let our athletes work. And we also knew we were going to have a good line up front. And, down here in the Valley, we're always going to have some big, mean linemen and road graders. And if we can get a hat on a hat, good things are going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that is one of the things that you have been very focused on is, the linemen. And again, we're going to break this down more as we get into the season, but it starts all up front. And, that brings us to the second play, or the second of the last here.
Yeah, top game, number 2 for Cole, that has to be the streak breaker in 2021, 15 years of losing to Fox. And this was the one that finally got it done, his game in 2021. And obviously complete full team effort. We knew this was going to be a tough game. We knew it was going to be a very physical game. And it was one where we had to really grind it out. He ended up with 40 carries this game, but only 179 yards. So we weren't talking about our, your big 30, 40, 50-yard runs like we were used to seeing. We had to truly grind this one out. And this was one of those games where it's like, Coach, give me the ball. Coach, I can do it. Coach, I got this. Let's go. And, the rest is history. I can remember, honestly, this was probably his first play here, probably the hardest hit I've ever seen him take, from this free safety here. And this was very first drive of the game. And I remember thinking, oh, boy, this is going to kind of be a long game. This could be bad. Boom. And that, honestly, in 3 years, that's the hardest hit I ever seen him take. And you're going to see him pop right up, get ready for the next play. And, we're still on that first drive. We get right to that next third down. And, he's not afraid. He's going to go out. He's going to execute here on a pass play, get a huge first down for us on this first drive, extending the drive. And we ended up scoring. And then, here's another one of his touchdowns here. When he heads to that pylon, he was always just tough to stop. So it was definitely a very back and forth game. This was the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think it was like a 13-13 game. It was very close, very tight the whole way. And this is what I call the drive. This is the greatest drive in the history of Seckman football. 16 plays, 80 yards. We ended up scoring and only leaving, I believe we took like 8 or 9 minutes off the clock. Just an absolute grinder of a drive, obviously built around, Cole and the things that he can do along with his teammates. We start off with a counter. I'm just going to run through this drive because you're going to see it. All right, we start off at a huge third down right away. Huge third down right away. Ain't no thing. Extends the play. Keeps his eyes downfield. First down. And it just was kind of like that all the way down the field. Here's our power play, 5 yards. Here's our power play, 3 yards. Grinding it out, first down. Teammates are battling. Everybody's going to the whistle. We're driving down the field. 15 years of infamy on this drive of losing to our rivals in district. A lot on the line. And, big-time players, you've heard me say it before, big-time players make big-time plays on big-time stages, and that was one of them. Dead to rights by that same safety that laid him out earlier. Broke a tackle. Continue moving downfield. Continue breaking tackles all the way down. Clock's ticking. Thousands of people in attendance. And he kept answering the call. And, honestly, at this point, you're like, geez, DFS is going to be calling you, Coach Baer. You keep giving him the football. There weren't any options. This guy was a competitor, and he wanted the ball in his hands to get it done. A huge play here. We're going to get him to jump off sides. You'll actually see me down here. The lettuce is full and grown out down here. We're fired up. We got him to jump off sides. You see me giving him the wheel here because everybody knows what play's coming. Now, everybody within a country mile knew what play. Everybody knew we're coming with power. And at this point, play 15, 16 of the drive, it didn't really matter. And it's a really cool moment here. Obviously sidelines all fired up. Cole's all fired up. I'm fired up right here. You're going to see me here in a minute. We're going to get a nice little hip bump. I just want to make sure all the good people know Cole was calling for this hip bump. His hand's up in the air right here. So this was not all about me. All right, Cole calling for the hip bump. I didn't get up very high. You can definitely see, I think I got a whole 6 inches up off the ground there. Cole a little bit higher than me. He's a little bit more athletic than me. A lot more athletic than me. But really a cool moment. I think you see Ron Rigdon down here. He's got the camera. He got a shot of this, and with our stands in the background, I've got it hanging up in our weight room. Really neat photo. Was in the paper. Really cool moment. And I'm just glad I got to share it and be there and watch Cole and his teammates get it done.
Yeah, no doubt one of the very special moments. And it goes back to what you're saying. They know what's coming. You got to stop it. And that drive there just illustrates that fact. And so that leaves us with the top game. And I think probably be fair to say most people know what it is. But in case they don't, we'll show them.
Yeah. Cole's last home game of his senior year, playoffs against SLU. And, really the backdrop here, junior year we had been bounced by Jackson in the Class 5 playoffs. And, so what were we pumping all off season? Hey, we need to be ready for Jackson. We're ready for Jackson. Things like that. We're kind of etching Jackson into the weight room walls, a little obsessive with it. And then all of a sudden districts come out that first week and, we're no longer in Class 5. We got bumped up to Class 6. No opportunity to play Jackson. So now instead of being in the district with Jackson, we were in a district with CBC, SLU, and Marquette, a lot of very good, solid teams. So, there was obviously that initial disappointment. But when it came playoff time, this was the first round. This is what we drew, an extremely tough opponent. SLU, private school in St. Louis, a lot of storied history, with their team, with their football program. At this time on their team, they had, I believe, 5 or 6 guys that would actually end up going on and playing Division I football or signing to play Division I or 1AA football, FCS football, they call it now. So just stars all over the field. One of them being Ryan Wingo, who's currently playing at Texas University, probably making about $1 million in NIL money while we're all at work today, grinding it out. But good for him, by the way, happy for him. But this was just one of those nights where all the stars on the field, the biggest moment, Cole shined the brightest. Um, you know, 323 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns, which was a program record. And just what a great way to kind of get sent off here for his last home game as a Jaguar. So, we'll kind of let it run for some of these plays. I know a lot of it looks like it's on repeat, but if it works, it works. And here he is kind of grinding out, finishing off a few drives right into the end zone for us. You get a good taste here of our single wing stuff, our power formation, that we like to run out of. And, teammates were blocking, guys he had played for his whole life. He put the team on his back, and guys were playing for him, and they're playing for each other, and we're just grinding it out. And, you're seeing a lot of these short runs. These are coming off of long drives, where his teammates were required to step up, and we asked him to finish it off. We get to that second half. This is one of those we're going blow for blow. Blow for blow. We ended up winning this game 50-41. Here's Ryan Wingo here, 5-star. Here he is right here, 5-star Texas wide receiver. Obviously, he's a little bit out of position here at free safety, but you can see our boy kind of putting him in a blender here. Boop. All right, Wingo did have some big catches that game. I think he had like 2 or 3 touchdowns. All right. But like I said, on a night where there were stars all over the field, that DN right there went to Iowa. Orlando Pace's son was on this football team. Once again, I think that's Cade Heinemeyer down here working on Ryan Wingo as Cole's getting into the end zone. With all the stars on the field, Cole shined the brightest that night. So just an absolutely legendary. This is kind of towards the end of the game to seal the deal. Touchdown number 7. And the rest is history. So just a really fun way to cap it off against a very good football team, on a night where, the previous year we had made it all the way to the district championship, getting bounced in the first round, that year with such a good team, a very talented team who had been pretty much all starting for 3 years, would have been pretty devastating. So they were really fighting that night. And, the next week we ended up not getting it done against Marquette. But, that SLU game definitely ranks up top for me for sure.
Yeah, the very, very special game. And, I'm just curious and wondering, I can't wait for this season to start and see what other kind of memories, this current field team will show. But I appreciate you walking through these highlights because, again, just can't appreciate like how good he was. And you look just reading the stat line and it's like incredible. And then you just see it wasn't, huge, long plays. They were there, but just like grinding it out day after day. And the dedication he had to, just keep getting better is something definitely to be admired.
Yeah. I mean, Cole, very special athlete, special human being. He'll be a redshirt sophomore at SEMO next year. He had a couple starts this season for SEMO, had a big game over 100 yards. I believe their homecoming game. I think he was the player of the game. So, next year he'll be out there battling, for a starting spot on a Division I football team. So we're excited of him. We're proud of him, and I'm happy to show him off any chance I get. And, you hit on something there, Carl, when you lose a guy like Cole or you lose a class like that class of 2021 that was very talented, it's high school football. They're not signed on 5-6 year contracts around here. So one of my favorite things to do as a coach is to do it again with a completely different group of people, a different group of guys. Everybody's like, well, how's the team look this year? Well, I think we're going to be pretty good. We have the pieces to the puzzle. Every year you kind of have an idea of what you need and then try to find a different guy to plug into that piece of that puzzle. And, maybe you can't do exactly the things, that a certain guy did the previous year, but, what can we highlight that he does really well? And then, that's really been a lot of the key to our success the last 2 years, without Cole and the rest of that 2022 class. So.
Yeah, I think you gave the analogy on one of the podcasts. It's not rebuild, but it's just like reload. And
yeah, it's reload. Seckman football is the Pez dispenser, and you are the Pez. So we keep it kid friendly around here. But yeah, we never want to really be in that situation where we think we have to rebuild everything we're doing. The foundation's there. We'll always be adjusting based on the things and the players that we have. But my mindset is always reload. What players can we reload this with? And, obviously my mind is on 2026 or 2025. But then I'm also saying 2026, 2027, what could those teams look like? And that's kind of one of those things where I'm trying to get those freshmen and them sophomores to really understand. It's a 2 or 3 year process, to get out to the field and start for us, with 180 guys on the team a year. And you can't all of a sudden, going into senior year, that junior year, I'm going to turn it on now. No, this is 2, 3, 4 year process to be a successful football player in our program. And, it's just fun. That's really one of the funner parts for me, kind of doing it all again with people that nobody knows. So.
Yeah, and you even mentioned, and I know we're bumping up on time here, but there was a couple players you mentioned that in their early career, maybe not as
Not great
good as
football players.
as they are now. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to watch them grow and put the time in, take care of themselves, their bodies. Listen to the coaches. I mean, it's just exciting to watch them progress. Like I totally see where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, we haven't had to rush. I'll say with Cole, and he had there were 7 or 8 other guys in his class that all had to start sophomore year. So they started sophomore, junior, senior year. We don't have that now. We may have 1 or 2 exceptional sophomores start, and what that allows us to do, we don't have to rush a player's development. They don't have to go out there and perform on a varsity football field till they're physically ready and sometimes mentally ready too. And it just takes some guys longer than others. And we've been able to take some guys, and I'll tell it to their face, quite honestly, not very good freshman football players. But then they worked hard for 4 years, developed, and all of a sudden, senior year, they're out there and they have a role in us winning. So, can we do it again?
I will bet the over. I know you can.
Well, I'm glad you got the confidence, Carl. That's good.
Yeah, I'm ready. And look, so I'm just counting down the hours, the days until you hit the spring practice there. But wanted to remind everybody we do have our social media channels. Also, you could check us out on Livestream STL. We're again very happy to part with them to help spread the good word of Seckman football. And we covered a wide variety of topics today in a fast 30 minutes, Coach. But wanted to give you the floor, take us out, and just leave us with your thoughts.
Yeah, talk a lot to the boys about consistency and routine. The key to getting stronger as a 15 to 18-year-old athlete, it's not super complicated. It's very simple. And it all boils down to consistency and routine in 3 aspects of your life, okay? The first one is sleep. Can you consistently develop a routine and get 7 to 9 hours a night? I'm asking for 8. I want 8 hours. I know we got to get up for school at 5 or 6. Well, if you're getting up for school at 5, you got to be in bed by 10. Phones off at 9 p.m., in bed by 9:30. You're in la la land, dreamland at 10. You have to develop a routine and be consistent with the sleep. And I'm not talking about the weekends where you go to bed at midnight and you wake up at 2 in the afternoon, right? I'm talking about these school days where we know we got to get up at 6 or we got to get up at 5. Well, then we need to be in bed at 10 because we know we ain't doing nothing productive after 10 o'clock at night. I'm in bed. I turn into a pumpkin after 9 p.m. at my house. So, you ain't going to find me after that time. It's just super important for recovery, energy throughout the day. Second thing I'm always harping on, we have to develop a routine with our diet and our nutrition. Are we getting those 5 meals a day? 3 big meals, 2 smaller snacks. I've planned it out for all of our athletes. We talk about it all the time. Are you getting that 150 grams of protein consistently? And honestly, to do that, you have to have a routine because it's a full-time job. Okay, well, yesterday you ate 3 chicken breasts and you got your 150, but today, you ate no breakfast, you're eating peanut crackers, and you're going to eat a slice of pizza for dinner. Well, that's not getting it done. Developing that consistency, that routine in your diet is going to help you. So we got sleep, we got diet. Then obviously you have to put the work in the weight room, being consistent in the weight room. showing up every day. I know it's been tough with all the snow days, and the days off, President's Day. Coach Baer's not here one day, is at a meeting. Things like that. We got to be consistent with our routine, and I'm not talking about going to the gym 5 and 6 times. You don't need to do that. As a team, we're getting 3 lifts a week in class. Lock in, focus on those 3 lifts. If your athlete's getting extra lifts, that's great, but it doesn't need to be more than 2 or 3. They're wearing their bodies out. They're not giving their bodies time to recover. And, that's just a reality. You don't have to do all these super complicated lifts, super complicated workouts, but you just have to be consistent and have a routine with it. And that's kind of what I try to provide in our class. And, I know it sounds so simple, Carl, and it's something I've been preaching forever. I actually have an athlete in my house now that I get to experiment on. Right. My son's a freshman, and I get everything I've ever said. I get to now actually see if it works in real time. And, he has a lot to take care of on the football field and on different athletic fields and that. But the kid, he's getting strong, and he's not doing anything special. He's sleeping. He's eating. Obviously, he has me to feed him, so it's a little bit easier on him. I tell him he's very lucky. He's sleeping. He's eating. And he's getting his 3 lifts a week in class. And me and him aren't going out and getting any special lifts. I'm not showing him lifts that other people aren't doing. Sometimes if on these snow days, I got to drag him out to the garage just like I do everybody else. But it really is as simple as those 3 things. Eat, sleep, lift. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. And that's really what I want parents to understand, and everything you can do to help support your player. Be consistent, develop that routine is going to help them out and, potentially get out on that football field.
Well said, Coach. And it could just, even outside of Seckman football, just in life in general, it's like, do little chunks.
One thing at a time, Carl.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yes, no, that's just kind of what it's all about, doing the things that other people aren't willing to do, having a routine, and taking care of your business. You're not always going to want to do the things that you have to do. You just got to go do
it. Trust me, my wife lets me know on a constant basis. So my tip would be just say yes and do it, and embrace it.
No kidding.
So, well, Coach, thank you again so much for your time today and breaking down Cole's plays and, just sharing what goes on in your house. Again, it's a good methodology to apply with my sons that are playing sports and those watching as well. It's just go out there and just do it. You just have to put in the time and the effort, then you'll start to see that progress. So again, I appreciate you so much for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, no problem, Carl. Always a lot of fun. I really like talking about Seckman football and really keeping that history and that tradition alive. And for the folks that may not have got to watch Cole play in action, now you kind of have an idea of what it looked like.
All right. I appreciate it. Well, I want to thank also everyone for watching today, and we will catch you on the next one.